Okay, I do not see the chat. I'll go to YouTube. There's always something. Maybe it's another.
Okay.
YouTube Live controller. It's always something different, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, can you help me figure this out? Okay, YouTube.
Wish I could be more help.
Yeah, me too. We're looking for chat.
There was chat down there.
There's control panel. Oh, did you see chat?
I did.
Okay, here.
Just, I don't know where you were at, but there was chat. Where were you?
Okay, view.
I saw chat somewhere.
There it is. Oh, yes.
Okay.
You were useful.
Yeah, how about that?
Okay, this is cool. Good, 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 good work. Okay. Yay, and other things are working, so looks like we're good.
We're good, we're live?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's see, make sure people say we see you. You look enthused, Jim.
Yeah, it's been a day.
And we sound fine. Okay, cool.
Good.
All right. Do you want to start?
Yeah,
with any...
well, first of all, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. These kind of events seem to work well to update on what we're doing, but you can certainly ask any question that you think I might be helpful with. You know, it's not just about our projects. Any gun building questions, muzzleloader questions you think you have that I might be helpful with, I'm happy to try to answer. So we appreciate everybody being here. And we'll go ahead and start with just some of a handful of questions that for people that weren't able to make it but wanted some questions answered, they emailed the questions in. So we'll start with, question is, for the upcoming pistol kit, will it be offered without a brass side plate, more in line with English dueling pistols of the period? And that's a good question. The originals that our pistol kit is based on by Sheets, it just had 2 washers. They were decorative a little bit, I think a little bit scalloped or something. But I decided to put a bigger side plate on it just because I thought it added a little more interest. But we may do it without a side plate too for somebody that doesn't want that, would rather do it in more of the English dueling pistol style. And these pistols are based off of, well, they're based off of work by Sheets in Virginia. However, you can definitely see that the English dueling pistols with faceted grips very much influenced these pistol designs. So, so yeah, we could probably do it without a side plate inlet. Okay, moving on here. When is the next time you will offer free shipping? So I don't really know. You know, we do sales periodically, and most people are, you know, take good advantage of it. And I know sometimes people are a little disappointed if they miss out on a sale, maybe purchase when the sale isn't going on. But I don't really know too much what to say. You know, sales are just sort of part of the American way, so that's just kind of how it works. So, okay. Sorry, I'm a little bit distracted today here. I've been dealing with a lot of issues. So, okay, a couple questions here. This fella is asking, he's referencing John Walker's videos with regards to barrel design, and I'd assume rifling design. I know John Walker likes to rifle his own barrels. I'm not familiar with the designs of his barrels, but they probably follow, you know, sort of a Southern Mountain configuration, maybe East Tennessee configuration. Some of those guns often had very narrow grooves and wider lands, and they're sometimes kind of like slot rifling. So I'm not sure if that's what he's referring to or not, but the good news is this fellow wants to shoot patch round balls, and our guns will shoot patch round balls fine. That's what they're designed for. Any of the manufacturers, Rice, Colonial, Green Mountain, will shoot patch round balls very well. He says he's shot high power rifle competition for 30 years with 4.5 pound 2-stage triggers. So I'm not familiar with what he's referring to, but as far as our trigger weight, it'll be less than that. Usually in the 2.5, 3 pound range maximum, I'd expect. And with set triggers, it'd be much, much less. Okay. I won't be able to attend, but can you get a Jaeger barrel made for the Brown Bess? And I can't help this fella out, because it's just the Brown Bess is, you know, going to be very close to original Brown Besses, and won't be any way to modify it. When will Brown Bess kits be available? And I'm not really sure. It's a big, long project. Everything seems to take longer than I think it should. It's just how it works.
We should know by now.
We should. I thought I was a little further along with the pistol, but we started doing more work on it, and I've realized that the grip shape isn't exactly what it needs to be. It's not comfortable. So I just today, this afternoon, I kind of realized I have to redesign the back end of the pistol, the grip, to make it more comfortable. And there'll be some more work associated with that with the trigger guard. The trigger guard will have a different shape now, so we may have to make another mold for the trigger guard. So things take a little time, but we want to make them right. And we want people to be happy, because the worst thing would be to start making these and for something to be a dud, which we don't want. It'd make us feel really bad.
Jim came in and, you know, let me know the bad news, but this happens with, I think, every design. It's just something where he wants to make it right.
Yeah.
And
one of the problems is when you're designing on a computer like like I do, it's very easy to not get a good sense of the overall scale and shape of things. You know, the computer screen gives you some idea, but it doesn't give you a complete idea. And I have done 3D prints periodically, but in this case, I didn't do enough of them, and you know, I wasn't really as critical as I should have been in the design process. So that's a lesson that you have to be very careful. Otherwise, you go a long ways, and then you have to back up. So we're going to rework the grips on the pistol a little bit. They're too short and basically very uncomfortable for the hand. So I'm going to extend them out a little bit. And I may offer one with the faceted grips, and I may offer a version with just a full round grip as well. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. So as far as the Brown Bess, it's nearly designed. I just have the lock internals to do. I think in the sling swivels, and then everything else is designed, which has been a monumental task. It's been a huge amount of work, but it's designed. And then next will be figuring out how to make everything, which will take some time. The pistol will be offered before then. I was hoping the pistol would be available in maybe 6 to 8 weeks, but with this kind of setback, it may be a little longer than that. We'll see. Okay.
With you talking about the Bess, do you want me to scan for some Bess questions? So
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, let's do that.
Like someone was wanting to know about how many rolls of quarters it will be.
That's a good question. And I don't know, honestly. A gut feel might be somewhere in the range of the Hawken rifle. I don't know, though. It's a complicated gun, sort of like the Hawken is. Everything's big. There's a lot of different parts for it, and they're a little bit unusual. So it's not going to be it won't be the barn gun as far as affordability, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. And time, you probably talked about this, but time frame of the Bess, we really don't know.
We don't know. It's coming along. It's you know, getting the design done is a huge part. And what I mean by that is all the parts, every single part, every single screw is going to be, it is nearly designed on the computer. And what I mean by that, it's a CAD design. So it's designed to the very fine detail. So when we want to manufacture them, we have a digital model to go by. So modern manufacturing pretty much exclusively uses you know, CAD models, and you have to start with those. And that's one of the big challenges, is getting good CAD models. From there, you can do a lot of things with them.
I think that's the only other Bess question.
Okay.
If you wanna...
Let's see here. Okay, this fellow's asking about, he's finishing a Hawken. He was asking about, he'd like the metal to be a very solid, penetrating blue-black color. And that's certainly not what the Jack's Black that we sell is intended for. It's to, you know, it doesn't make a completely uniform color, and I wouldn't recommend using it for that. It's just to kind of simulate some patina. I'll usually put it on, rub a lot of it back. So it's definitely not what you want to go to for this blue-black color. A rust blue would be a very good choice for the blue-black color. And a charcoal blue would be a very good process too, but those are pretty difficult. The charcoal bluing is pretty difficult, but rust bluing would be very good.
Because he said he wants to do it without water tanks and hot bluing.
Yeah, so, you know, rust bluing is cold. You do have to boil the parts or steam the parts.
Daisy.
But, you know, so the rust bluing would be a great choice. I'd recommend that. Okay. So yeah, this fellow's asking about the Colonial kit. He's very happy with the results. And he was wondering if he ever needs parts. Are they available direct from us? And yes, of course they are. And we have a lifetime warranty on the lock. If there's ever any problems, send it back. It doesn't make any difference if you mess something up or we mess something up. We'll fix it up for you and we'll send it back for free. No cost at all. So we're going to advertise that more, but you know, we really want people to have success and not have any problems. So we're happy to do that. Another question about a side-by-side shotgun. We've talked about that, and it's just very costly. I don't know what the cost would be, but it'd be huge development time and huge cost, and I'm not sure it would pay back. I don't think it would. So I don't really have any plans for a side-by-side shotgun. He's asking about a percussion, but if we did, it would probably be a flint. So don't have any plans for that. Okay, it'd be possible to make a butt plate for the barn gun. Yeah, somebody could make a butt plate for the barn gun. It kind of defeats what it is. That's the idea is that it doesn't have a butt plate. That's one of the things that makes it a barn gun. But with enough skill, you can make a butt plate for it. Now, if the concern is that your butt's going to split and have problems, then it's not likely. So I wouldn't lose sleep over it. I'd just use it as is. Okay, somebody's asking about when their gun is going to come, and
in the white.
And I don't really know exactly. The best thing to do is to call Bree, and she can provide an update. One thing for sure is we're working overtime, so we're trying to get all kits shipped as fast as we can. Every employee here is working overtime, and that's just because of all the great response we've had. So we appreciate that, and we'll get the kits to you as fast as we possibly can. And our turnaround time has been maybe not as good as we'd like, but it's been pretty good, not too bad. Okay, let's see here. Fancy maple wood for the Colonial rifle. He wants to achieve a reddish amber brown finish. So I always recommend starting with iron nitrate because it gives you a very good solid base color, and then you can adjust that afterwards with aniline dyes. And we do sell different aniline dyes. We sell some trans tint products as well as Jim Klein's that used to be Dangler's stains. So you can stain with iron nitrate first. I'd put oil on it so you can actually see what the color is. If you don't put oil on it, you're not going to know what the color is. And then ask yourself what you want to do, and then you can start adjusting the color. You don't have to adjust the color all at once either. You can add some of the dye to your finish. Subsequent coats of finish you can color, and you can work, gradually adjust the color as you go. So it's something that can be worked with as the finishing process proceeds. Aniline dyes.
This is kind of a longer question about dyeing. They want the trans tint lemon yellow dye, and then iron nitrate is another technique.
Yeah, there's I think I've seen some people put aniline dyes on first, and maybe Wayne Estes and Mike Brooks might have been using that technique, and I'm sure it works fine. One thing about staining and finishing is, I know this isn't very helpful, but it's kind of a thing where you just keep messing with it until you like it. And if if it ends up turning really bad, then you rub it back, or there's no formula. There's so many different ways you can go about getting good results.
It all depends on the wood.
Wood too, and it's not a science. It's more of just kind of an art and messing with things. And I know that didn't help much. So scraps are fun to play with. So we'll send you scraps if you'd like. Okay, let's see here.
Do you add any color to sealer to change colors?
You can, yeah. It's a good way on it to add color to your finish or sealer. Then you can adjust it as you proceed. So that's good.
And then Dangler orange toner.
Yeah,
you could use
I'm sure it's fine.
optic goggles.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. I can read this here. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's not.
Okay, that's it for
fine.
those ones.
Okay, so we're on to your questions. Thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Okay. Interested in left-hand rifle kits and like to know if you are planning to offer any additional left-handed models.
So we offer our barn gun in left-handed, and that's probably the only one we have plans to offer at this point. We like left-handers just like we like everybody else, but we do have to be mindful of the time it takes to make things in left-handed and whether it's worthwhile from a business perspective. So we've offered one. Sales have been so-so, maybe not fantastic in the left-hand version. So right now we don't have any plans for any other models.
Currently waiting on a barn gun 36 cal for a squirrel rifle. Is there any chance that a 28 gauge smoothbore barrel could be in the barn gun?
I think that perhaps, I don't know. I'd have to look and see the barrel wall thickness. I don't really know, to be honest. So the 36 caliber, we did just get some 36 caliber barrels in. So with any luck, barrel blanks, I should say, with any luck, yours will be coming soon.
Okay. Kudos to Bree and Heather. They've been super responsive to anything, sorry, my throat hurts, to anything I ask, and very empathetic when I screw something up and need to order replacement parts. Go Team Kibler.
So we do have a great team. Heather's not with us anymore. She found another job and is doing well. But Bree certainly is here, and we're looking, we've been interviewing some people to replace Heather to do what her job was. One thing I'd like to mention, actually, it'd probably be better for you to mention, Catherine, is on the website, as far as questions being answered, we're always available for phone calls. But also we have a
knowledge base.
Yeah, go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about it.
Okay, so I have been working on, really it's been my goal ever since I met Jim, that I wanted to collect all the information and tidbits of things. There's a lot of stuff up in his head. And so I went through, I've been going through over the last few months all of his old emails, anywhere where he's answered a question, and trying to collect all that into one place, so that way we can have, and I made it searchable, and you can get to it through our FAQ page on our website, but it's a knowledge base, and it's pretty detailed. I'm still working on getting more stuff added to it, but pretty much any kind of way, finishing questions, building questions, history questions about the guns.
There's a tremendous amount of information, and we've been able to accomplish this with the help of AI. And different people have different feelings about AI. Some think it's just terrible, and they only know it from dumb pictures on the internet or something. But it's far from that, and it can be amazing and transformative for your business. And so Catherine's been diving into it a lot, and there's a tremendous amount of great information. It's scanned all of our correspondence with customers over the last 10 years, and compiled that, and then we check that knowledge base as well. We verify that it's good, and so there's a huge amount of information. So I'd encourage everybody to take a look. It's on our website. There's a page that you can go to, and in the latest email that we sent out, we have a link to that page, and see how it works for you. I think it's going to be very, very valuable.
And if you notice anything that's clearly wrong, let me know. I'm going through it every day and trying to make it better, make the answers clearer, more decisive. So, and we'll be adding to it regularly.
Yeah. So my opinion, unsolicited opinion, is I know a lot of people don't like AI and it's kind of scary. I get that, but it's also extremely powerful if you have it working for you. And thanks to Catherine, we've been using it quite a bit in the business, and we're not afraid to say that. It's done some great things for us already. And
it's really just to make the experience for customers better, and it helps us do our job better by not trying to keep track of everything in our minds, and less room for error. And
yeah, and what it'll do is it improves efficiency in the business, and with that we're able to better serve you guys. We're able to make stuff better. Just keep on doing more projects that we want to do that we haven't had time for. So it's a really good thing, and we're going to win, and you guys will win because of it.
Awesome. We have, okay, I'll be at work and we'll miss it. Do I have some questions though? Will the Bess have all the military markings and dates you'd expect?
Yeah.
On one, and also, is there going to be any other muskets?
No other musket plans, but it will have all the markings, particularly on the lock and the barrel. A lot of the other parts have markings that are hidden, and there's a good chance we'll have those markings too, but definitely the exterior markings on the lock and the barrel, they will be there. It'll just have, the one I have has Grice on the back, 1759, the original that I'm copying. But it will just have Tower because it makes it a little bit more generic, I guess, for different time periods rather than locking it down to that particular date and time period. There was a transition when they started putting Tower rather than the maker. I'm not familiar with all the details, but it's just more generic to have tower, and it'll work in more occasions.
So someone said, can't wait to see the pistol. And that's part of when I sent the email out, I was going to say we were kind of going to share stuff about the pistol, but since that's being
it needs some reworked.
In
case you've just joined, you know, I got to look into the pistol, started working on it more, and there's some rework that's needed on the design of it, on the grip. It's really not what it should be. You guys wouldn't be happy with it, so we're redesigning the grip of it to make it more comfortable to shoot. So that's going to delay things a little bit, but it's still well along. So it won't. It's the right thing to do, and it won't delay us too bad.
I scared up a set of those mag visors at an antique store. Best $5 ever spent. That's a good deal.
Yeah, I mean, as eyes get old, I think everybody loses their vision for looking at close items, and you have to see in order to be able to do work.
And Jim refuses glasses.
And you have to be able to see well, you know, in order to do work. No way around it. Like if I didn't have these optivisors, I don't know if I'd be able to do hardly any work. You're guessing half the time of what you're doing.
Yeah. Someone commented how enthused you look.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, that's when we were trying to get it going. Okay, let me try to scroll here. It's so the scroller isn't. Come on.
Sorry for the delay here. Our chat is.
Okay. What reference books do you recommend for PA long rifles on the Colonial period?
So definitely Rifles of Colonial America. Volume 1 has more of the Pennsylvania stuff in it. So Rifles of Colonial America Volume 1 is definitely one. Also, Kindig's book is, you know, a classic. So those two are the first ones to go to. Now, I wouldn't discount the CDs that are offered by the Kentucky Rifle Association. We sell those, and they show amazing photographs of a lot of guns. So they're on our website. Check them out. They're a little cheaper. It'd be a great thing to go to first. I think they're only what, $20 or something. I don't know.
I think so. I'm not sure.
Something, but they're very affordable and very high resolution photographs. You can really zoom in on, see all kinds of details. So they're a big benefit.
What do you recommend for barrel gun cleaning? I'm gonna have to let her in.
Yeah. So I just use. First of all, let me preface this by saying that I don't shoot much at all. But when I do, I just use cold water and pour it down the barrel, plug the touch hole, slosh it around, let it sit for a little bit so it softens the powder, dump it out, and then start going with a jag and cleaning patches. I know different people use different things. Some people like hot water variations, but there's a lot of different ways to clean the gun.
Are right-hand percussion guns
burn guns shipping this week, and we've shipped some. Yeah, so I don't know how many have shipped, and we're shipping more. So yep, they're shipping. And the left-handed, I don't believe have begun shipping yet, but it should be pretty darn soon.
Okay. And we have. I feel like this could be a column like Dear Abby. Asked him. Volume is low. I hope you guys can hear us now. Someone else said sound is working. Okay. What is the lead time to receive a Hawken rifle? Can you get her? I can't get out. Sorry, the dog is at the door. She does not know how to use the doggy door because she's a doodle and can't figure that part out.
So lead time on a Hawken kit. I know that we have a fair number that are in our quick ship section on our website. So there's some that would have 0 lead time or a day. You know, with our quick ships, if you're not familiar with them, check them out. They're ready to go. They're packed up, so they typically ship just the following day from when you order them.
Okay. Hi, you two. Looks like my prayers have been working. Rick Baker, thank you. Have you ever built a flintlock double rifle?
I never have. No.
Okay. Love the Hawkens behind you. They're beautiful.
Well, thanks.
That one's very, very pretty. Your website says left-handed kits started shipping August 1st. Is that correct? And what's the rate they're being shipped?
I think that they started about August 1st. I'm not certain. The rate at what they're shipping at, I don't really know without doing a little research. So
We usually ship in batches, though. That's something that can be kind of confusing because people will get online and say, I ordered on this exact day and I got my gun. When did you guys order and get your gun? It doesn't quite work exactly like that. They may do, because the machine gets programmed for one thing and we run a number of them.
yeah, so just somebody that ordered after you may actually receive their kit before you. And that's just because we try to generally follow how the order in which orders were placed, but we, like Catherine explained, we don't just jump around because we can't manufacture like that. So we'll manufacture one particular design in a batch and then move on to another batch of something else, which is very typical in manufacturing. So we do that to keep the prices as low as we can for you guys. Otherwise we'd be adding 50% to it. So you don't want that.
No. Did the SMR used to have a 46-inch barrel? How long of a barrel on the pistol kit?
Yeah, the SMR did have a 46-inch barrel, and off the top of my head right now, I don't recall the pistol barrel length. Unfortunately, it's either, I think it's 10.5, I believe. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Any chance on a percussion T-shirt? And I'll answer this.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I haven't talked to you about it, but my plans were to have a T-shirt kind of each, like a left hand, right hand lock, because there's this technology that will let you, rather than us stocking the shirts, we can have it where we upload the designs and then you can pick your own T-shirt size and color and all that, and that would allow us to have more options. So that's on my list. I want to have a left hand and a right hand too, so the lefties can do that, and
Be
a percussion.
proud, yeah.
So I hope you're okay with that.
That's okay. Sounds good to me.
Okay. I ordered a 36 cal barn gun May 18th. Can you give me a timeline for when I can expect it?
Yeah, so we just received barrel blanks in 36 caliber.
Today, right?
Did we? It was relatively soon. It was.
Yeah.
I think it might have been. It wasn't. I don't think it was today, but it might have been yesterday.
Okay.
But, so I know that we're making barn gun barrels out of those blanks. So let me just talk a little bit about how we make our barrels. So we, of course, do not do the bore. So what that means is we don't do the drilling, we don't do the reaming, and if they're rifled barrels, we don't do the rifling. So we purchase what are called barrel blanks. Think of just a rough piece of bar stock, but the bore is completed. And we purchase those from 3 different companies. We purchase those from Green Mountain, Rice, and Colonial. And those companies, you know, have their own work that they need to do, and some are able to produce certain calibers but not others. So, you know, we try as hard as we can to keep a stock of barrels, but sometimes we run out of a particular caliber. For example, right now we have some 36s, but we're out of 32s, and we have those on order with Rice. He's the only company of those 3 that produces the barrel, that's able to produce the barrels in 32 caliber. So we're kind of, you know, just we're dead until he gets those made for us, which I think he's going to be starting before too long, from what I understand. But you know, we're using all 3 companies because we're trying to get the quantity we need. And right now, we don't really have plans to do that work ourselves unless something should change where we can't get enough barrels. Right now, those 3 companies are keeping up with our demands, although it's pretty close. So, you know, we'll put that off as long as we can. Coleraine has really stepped up. I'll say that here in case they're listening, but they've really stepped up in providing barrels for us. They're doing great work and trying to help us out in any way they can. So we're very thankful to have them as a supplier for us.
Will the pistol be more Kentucky style, English Dragoon, or other?
So yeah, it's a Kentucky pistol. Yeah, definitely a Kentucky-style pistol, but have some English influence to it.
I just saw what bourbon is in your glass.
Yeah, it was a gift, and I think it's called Bardstown Brewery. Maybe it's pretty good, not bad.
There, I lost where I was. That's okay. I'll find it. Any info on pre-orders for the Brown Bess? And that's something we like to take pre-orders when we have it done, not when we're thinking of getting it done. Early on, we took pre-orders when we had the gun mostly done, and it's very stressful for the customer and for us, because even though we've said pre-order, it feels like you've put in an order, and then once that's happened, you start thinking, well, when it's going to come.
Yeah, we want to have at least the first gun built. You know, that it shows what it is, knowing that everything, there may be a few little loose ends, but it's pretty much ready to go before we start taking orders.
Yeah, because we don't want to be surprised, or you
yeah,
guys
and customers can get grumpy, and we like to avoid that too.
Yeah.
It's hard on Bree.
Yeah. My dad was a master engraver and did a lot of custom work for Colt, Winchester, and a bunch of other makers. I'm trying to take up his banner. Is it possible to get one of your kits in the white? It
is. We offer them in the white, so it is. Yep. Check out our website, and it'll even have, I believe it has the pricing of in the white kits.
Yeah. Are there any safety concerns associated with loading Kibler Fowler 16 gauge with patch ball or paper cartridge ball?
Yeah. So I know that there's people that shoot a round ball out of a 16 gauge, and it works fine. However, it's just not something that we would suggest. We suggest the 20 gauge. It's a thicker barrel, thicker walled barrel. It should shoot more accurately, and it you know, just gives you a little bit more of a safety factor. I don't think there's any issue with the 16 gauge, but it's just something that I feel better about. If you're going to shoot patch round ball, I'd prefer a 20 gauge, but I know a good number of people that like shooting a round ball out of the 16 gauge.
Would it be beneficial to use tannic acid with iron nitrate on the hard maple you offer?
Sure, yeah, it gives a different look. It accentuates the curl that's available. Well, the hard maple, so yeah, you're probably thinking of the plain hard maple. So the plain hard maple, it'll definitely make it darker, which sometimes can sometimes be difficult to get a darker color out of hard maple because it doesn't absorb as much stain. Iron nitrate is what we're referring to. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to use tannic acid if you want a little darker color, but then follow that up with something to warm up the color. And what I mean by that is tannic acid will give you a darker color, but they're colder tones. So follow that up with some kind of aniline dye, maybe honey amber or something to bring back some of the warm tones.
What type of nipple wrench should I use on the Hawken? Want a good fit?
Yeah, so Track of the Wolf, they make the nipples that we use, and they sell a nipple wrench that fits on there, so that's what I'd recommend. Go to their website, and I'm sure you'll be able to find something that'll work for you.
Someone says they're glad to hear that we want it 100% before shipping the pistol.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So Jim, what are you most pleased with this year? And Catherine, what are your thoughts on the new products going forward?
So that's a good question. You know, every year has its challenges. You know, running a business isn't easy, and there's always things you have to keep ahead of. I always have this feeling that if you let your guard down and just let things kind of cook, that, you know, they can go bad fast. We're a strong company and we're doing well, but if you take your eyes off things, it doesn't take much. So we've made a number of improvements this year. There's some that I can't really talk about yet, but you'll hear about them in the future, in the upcoming years. One other good thing is we've hired a financial person, a controller that's very good. His name's Dave. That I used to work with him at a foundry 25 or 30 years ago, and we've you know, chatted off and on, been friends throughout that time period, and he was looking to make a change, and we needed a financial person, so he's been with us for about 4 or 5 months, something like that, and it's really
Great.
good. So he's a huge benefit. So that's a very good thing.
Made my life way easier,
Yes.
helping in the office and out in the shop, because I was the financial person and I needed help.
Yep. So, and it's good. We've increased the rate at which we're offering new products, which is very important. So we've gotten better at that. So that's something that I'm pleased with. How about you, Catherine?
I'm looking forward to the pistol, because I think that a lot of women might be more comfortable to sort of get into it with a smaller, less intimidating project. I started doing the mountain rifle back years ago, and it's just, I don't have much upper body strength and stuff like that. So I think a pistol will be a lot of fun, and I think it will get some new people involved. So yeah, I've been looking forward to that, like you guys are.
Yep.
So.
And like I said, Catherine's having a lot of fun. So since she's not doing the financial stuff, she's been helping out with marketing, which we had been doing quite a bit more marketing. At one point, we've kind of slipped a little bit in the last month or so. Well, I have too.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to increase that again, because it's important to get the word out. So Catherine's been doing more of that, and then as I mentioned previously, she's been doing a lot of the AI stuff, which is very important for a business. Even businesses of our size, it's very, very important.
Just processes, trying to look at how to do things efficiently and
Yep.
accurately,
Yeah.
I guess.
For example, not to bore you, but one of the tasks that she solved was Shopify is our storefront on our website that processes our orders, and to get that to communicate with our financial software, which is QuickBooks, has been difficult.
We had to do it manually.
We had to enter orders manually. But with the help of AI, even though Catherine's not a coder or anything, she was able to figure out how to make that happen. It wasn't necessarily easy, and it was some complex stuff, but it helped out a lot. So I know people have bad feelings about it, but it can be amazing.
Thank you.
Yep.
The reason we have Kiblers is because Jim won't let a gun design into production until it's done right.
Yep.
Even if I want a flintlock Hawken. Yeah.
You're
Yep.
not the only one.
Not the only one. We don't know when we're going to start pre-orders for the Brown Bess.
Yeah.
And okay, received my walnut Fowler and I love it. Mine has a 20 gauge barrel and it's a rice barrel. I'm a big fan of Jason's work.
Yeah, Jason does a very nice job. He's a big benefit to the black powder community, and we're happy to have him as a supplier. So thank you, Jason.
What is the 2F powder range for the 20 gauge Fowler when shooting 595 60 patch round ball for load development?
You could shoot maybe in the range of maybe 80 grains, to maybe 100 grains of powder, somewhere in that range.
Any plans to make a Jaeger?
So maybe someday, yeah.
Been asked that enough.
We have, yeah. In particular, there's a few Jaegers. One by Johann Wagner, and you'd probably be able to find it if you go to Colonial Williams' website, because it's in their collection in the DeWitt Wallace Gallery. But it's just an amazing Jaeger. There's a couple by that particular maker that are similar, but they're just very, very beautiful. Would be a difficult project, but probably someday.
Oh, that's a probably.
Yeah, probably.
It's gone from a not likely to a probably.
Yeah, but probably a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any chance of adding a nose cap to the SMR? The barn gun tends to cover the simple gun category. Having two without nose cap seems like a bit of an overlap in products.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. As far as worrying about damage, I wouldn't. But if it's just like an appeal thing, you could add a nose cap. They're not easy to add. I don't really have any plans to offer that. But you could add one. You'd have to make it. Any commercial ones won't fit properly. So Yeah, if you know, you could add it. We've seen a few people do cast nose caps on them too, which are very interesting and cool, but it's again a little tricky. So, yep.
Best by Christmas?
Unfortunately, it's
Probably
not going to happen.
No.
You know, I was hoping it'd be late fall, but you know, the way things are going now, it's not going to happen.
And it's not because of Jim not working on it.
Yeah, we've been
That's
working on it, but just things happen. You know, there's delays. There's delays with
air compressors.
Well, in the foundry, there's been problems with the getting stuff quite as fast as we'd hoped from the foundry, and it's just life in running a small business. We're doing better than we had been, and we keep trying to work on you know, predicting things better, but there's still interruptions and things that you can't account for.
I see Mountain Man Dave. I've seen those videos come by. Those are really nice videos. So thank you for doing those.
Yeah, thanks for talking about what we do. We appreciate it.
He says he appreciates the detail that we put into each design. It sure reflects in the final product.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's obsessive detail. Bree is a plus. Bree is
she's
amazing.
A plus.
She's A plus. Oh,
Yeah.
A plus.
Yeah.
And she's Bree's wonderful. Will there be an option to have the Bess lock be stamped or engraved with the GR or tower? I think
It will. Okay. Yep.
I have a Colonial. I'm extremely happy. G96 gun blue is a dark.
Okay, a fella asked about that in
okay.
you know, an earlier question. So it's just a cold blue, which may work well for what he would like.
Instead of doing my barrel in the white, would it be better to just use some Jack's black and then let it age and develop its own patina?
I like to do that. That's what I prefer to do.
I built one of your Woods Runners. Very nice rifle. Love it to death. I think that's...
It is. It's definitely, I think, our most popular. It's still our most popular. It handles very well. It shoulders very well. It's just a very neat gun. It's had you know, a lot of appeal and a lot of support.
Yeah, and now with the carving and...
Yeah,
really...
I'll talk about the carving again. The carving is beautiful on it. It's not super complicated carving, the relief carving, but it looks right and adds a great deal to the overall appeal of the rifle. Most guns of that time period were carved, so consider it when you're buying a gun. It makes the gun look right, actually.
I'm clumsy.
Ooh.
It's all right. Okay. Thank you for keeping flintlock rifles alive with your passion, knowledge, and kits. Saving now to get a Kibler kit. Thank you again. Oh, thank you.
It's not going to be much help.
It'll do something. All right. If you have questions, if you're saving for one, let us know. We'll help you get one picked out. Okay. I would buy a double flinter right now today. Maybe, unless you saw how much it costs.
Yeah, that's true.
Have you ever thought about wheel locks, pistol, and rifle? I made a wheel locks rifle from scratch. I need some help with making the mainspring.
Wheel locks have never really interested me, and I'm not quite sure why, but that could change someday.
Any new accessories coming for the fall into 2027?
Not really that we have planned right now. I don't think so.
I don't think so, but we sometimes stuff pops in our head and we move kind of fast, so I don't know. You guys able to make a cheap under 1,000 double barrel flintlock shotgun? Yeah,
that's the problem.
No.
To do quality work and have any muzzleloader under $1,000 is a very, very hard ask. Currently we have one product under $1,000, and that's our percussion barn gun. And you know, that is just under $1,000. And percussion or double barrel flintlock shotgun, it would probably be 3 times that. You might be able to buy some kind of cheap import gun for under $1,000, but they're so far from what we do, and it's a frustrating point that I have to address continually, is people that don't understand what we do and how carefully we make these and the quality that you're getting, and they want to compare them to import guns, and it's just including Pedersoli and the likes, and it's just like there's no comparison. So it's something that I'm sorry, but it's just the truth.
Apparently there's a loophole, a legal loophole in Germany for double barrel flintlock shotguns.
Do they have to be under $1,000 for that loophole?
Maybe. Sometimes there are price things, I'm not sure. Love my quick ship SMR kit. I see many improvements or more work has been done already. Thanks for your efforts to improve the kits.
We do, and we keep trying to improve them as we offer them. So, and there'll be, you know, some of our guns now are made in more sophisticated equipment, which makes them closer and more easily to assemble, and we'll keep on doing that in the future.
Have you ever thought about a full stock Hawken?
I haven't, because, you know, most Hawkens were half stock, the vast majority, and, you know, there may have been a handful or one or two Flint Hawkens, but whether there's any even in existence now, I think is debated. So it's just such an obscure thing that I really don't have any interest in it. You know, the quintessential Hawkens are half stocks is what they are. And I've done my Hawken thing, and I think that's all you'll get from me.
Do you ever suggest disassembly of the woods runner to clean it?
So you could take the barrel out and take the lock out to clean it. That would not be bad once in a while. You don't have to take the barrel out every time, but once in a while it's not a bad idea to clean the underside of the barrel and oil it. But as far as
how often is every once in a while?
People might do it every 6 months or a year. You know,
Okay.
but the lock should come out all the time and be cleaned when you clean the rifle.
Okay. Like to see you come up with a window sticker with your lock logo on it. I'd be proud to fly one of those in my pickup window, and I need to do that. It's on the list.
We'll do it.
We'll do it. Yeah. Would you offer a pattern 1696 French hunting gun?
So I'm not familiar with this pattern 1696 French hunting gun, but I do love French guns of that period, and they were by and large almost.
Yeah, keep going. I'm just looking.
Okay, by and large almost exclusively smoothbore guns, and you know, that's a fantastic time period. I love the guns. There's probably, well, I don't know if you can see it. I guess you're not allowed to pick up guns on these lives, but there's one up that's a French gun that's on the top of the rack, made by Perobe, dated 1689, and Perobe was at the top of the heap of the French gun makers of Louis XIV. So those guns are fantastic. So there are also English guns of that period that are wonderful as well. So at some point, we'll be making a gun that's you know, of that period, you know, late 17th century, early 18th century styling. They're magnificent, highly underappreciated.
I just scrolled to the end to see if there's any issues. That's why I do that.
Okay.
I'm looking to add a sling swivel to the fore end of a woods runner or barn gun. Is there enough wood on the foregrip to solder on an underlug and drill through to add a front sling swivel?
Yeah, you definitely need an underlug. I would recommend at least dovetailing the underlug in a little bit as well as soldering it. That's what I prefer. So yeah, there's enough barrel and enough wood. Now you don't want the wood to bear the brunt of a sling swivel. You want the lug and the barrel to take the load.
Another Bess detail will have a bayonet.
It will, and I have no idea how we're going to make it yet. So, and it'll be an option, and it probably won't be a cheap option because it's not going to be easy to make.
What is a period correct lock and barrel finish for a percussion barn gun?
It could be anything. It could just be very basic. I'm sure some probably just had some kind of dark oil slathered on them. So it could be anything. Probably something very basic. A scraped finish would be very nice if you're familiar with scraping. I think we have a few videos on that. So check those out. That gives a little coarser texture to the finish, which would look very appropriate on a barn gun. I would just go ahead and use iron nitrate because it looks great. If you have a maple stock, because it looks great on pretty much and looks appropriate, looks right. So that would be my choice. And then just maybe even like a beeswax and oil finish. Tried and True sells a product like that that would look very good. Also, I think Beck sells, a fellow by J.D. Beck, I believe, sells an oil finish that is pretty matte, not very shiny, and I think it's more like kind of like a wax oil, although I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it would look okay on a barn gun too. It's not my favorite for a more refined gun that has that you'd expect a little shinier finish on, but for the barn gun it would work well.
Hey, it's Brad. I'm the truck driver from Florida who picked up my woods runner in my semi-truck.
Yep.
I ordered a Colonial quick ship and was wondering if the 58 smoothbore barrels have come in yet.
I'm not sure about that, Brad. I wish I knew.
Is the pistol offered in 50 cal? And
Yes, it is.
flintlock, hopefully, what is the longest barrel length you will offer?
I think it's 10 and a half.
Okay. When are y'all open for visitors?
So, you know, I was going to say we don't advertise that we accept visitors, but maybe that's what I'm doing. So we don't turn people away. So if you want to come and see the place, make an appointment, call Bree, and we'll have a little bit of time for you. It doesn't mean we'll be able to have loads of time for you, but we'll have a little bit of time for you. So we try to, you know, treat everybody good that shows up and appreciate that they appreciate us. But definitely
appointments are really important,
very
though,
important.
because
important. And don't expect to stay all day, because not too long ago we had somebody that stayed like 4 hours or something, and Bree was too kind to try to kick them out, and it just, you know, so just be respectful.
Love the kits. You guys are the definition of an American-made company, which are so few these days. Also, with American powder companies in the wind, what are the odds of a Kibler powder company?
That seems very much beyond our scope. Yeah, it is a problem, though. You know, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. I just received my first kit recently, and I'm excited to get started this weekend. As far as staining and bluing, what is the recommended order? Do I assemble first to check the fits?
There can be different, yeah, there's definitely a few choices, but the first thing you want to do is you want to build the gun. You want to assemble the gun. That means that all the parts are installed and the gun works perfectly. So that's the first step. Then what you want to do is you want to sand the wood down even with any parts where the wood might be a little proud, let's say. Or if the parts are a tiny bit proud, you can file those down so you have a nice seamless fit with everything. After that, I usually like to sand everything down, sand the whole stock down and stain the stock, and then finish the stock. And while I'm finishing the stock, I'll usually polish up the hardware. And then you can do whatever finish you want on your hardware. And then as I'm finishing the gun, usually after the first couple coats of finish on the stock, I'll probably put the hardware back on it and then continue the finishing with the hardware on. And the reason for that is that if you don't, you can build up finish in the inlets and then your parts won't fit and you'll have to scrape out the finish in the inlets, that sort of thing. Plus, it also allows you to build up a little patina around your parts if you're building that sort of a gun and finishing it in that way. So it just looks a little bit better in the end. But definitely assemble your gun 100% before you even think about finishing anything or sanding the stock, you know, yeah.
If I temper blue the external facing lock parts on a woods runner, how do I finish the frizzen to achieve a similar look without damaging the hardness?
Yeah, temper blue is usually a pretty bright blue, and I'm not aware of any other way to get that bright blue color. I'm not a big fan of temper blue. I think it's, you know, I don't know. I don't really like it. It's kind of obnoxious looking. I think, I'm sorry, no offense to you, but I just really don't like it. I would probably avoid it if it were me. But with that said, there's some amazing gun builders that like to use temper blue. So, you know, Wallace Gustler comes to mind, where he's tempered blued a lot of barrels, and he's the best of the best. So, yeah.
I'm sorry if you already answered, but calibers for the pistol?
45, 50, and 54.
Okay. Update on flintlock pistol, you already did. Future on a Beck's or Dickert flintlock?
Yeah, you know, I still have that on the radar as far as a Beck or Dickert flintlock. I think that would be really, really good. I spoke in the last video, I believe, about the importance of you know, trying to have some of our kits that are just dead on copies of original work, because they're timeless and they're fantastic, and you can learn a lot from copying all the little small nuances and details. It can't be underestimated. So I would like to do a Beck or a Dickert. We'll see here. You know, we have some things in mind.
And I can answer this one. If I don't pay in full up front when ordering a barn gun or any gun, am I placed in the back of the line? Nope. Absolutely not. Nope. Paying in full doesn't get you to the front of the line. No payments due at the time of order, and everyone's treated the same, regardless of how they paid.
Yep.
We already did the reference books.
Mm-hmm.
We already did pistol. How will your Brown Bess compare to a rifle shop kit built by the places like Lodgewood, Dave Person, or Cashtook?
Yeah, you know, the rifle shop parts are good in that they're direct copies of original parts. Now that's good and bad. The good part is that when you're using an original part to make a new part, you know, a lot of the shapes and stuff are very, very good, you know, because the molds are based on the original parts. But the downside is there's some shrinkage involved, which isn't very good, and there's also inconsistencies and irregularities in original parts that are hard to always deal with when manufacturing things today. So in some ways that's a really good thing, but it also causes problems. We've gone to great pains to capture all the details of an original gun that we've had available to copy, but while also making it very precise, accounted for any shrinkage, things like that. And you know, I have high standards. You know, my background is building custom guns, high-end custom guns, and you know, that's how we build kits. We build them to the same quality. So when you talk about, you know, the rifle shop put together by these different people, my opinion is they'll be every bit as good or better, you know, because that's what we do. You know, we build high-end, you know, guns that are made to very exacting standards. So yeah, I think that it'll compare favorably with anything that's available, and it'll certainly be head and shoulders above any production guns that come from overseas, you know, that are popular today, because they have huge problems.
I'm wondering why the barrel channel of a rifle isn't treated with wood oil. Is it so that moisture can enter the wood of the stock instead of accumulating under the barrel? Will not rust.
Yeah, so you can seal the inlets, including the barrel channel, with oil. It's not a problem. Original guns pretty much never had that treatment, and they seem to work pretty good. So it's just finishing in the period was something that was done to exterior surfaces. It wasn't, and I think that applies to furniture as well, but it's only parts that you would see on rifles, and it doesn't seem to cause that big of a problem, to be honest. You know, a sealer coat may help a little bit, but moisture still can get through it. There's no doubt about that. It's something I don't obsess over, but there's nothing wrong with putting a sealer coat of finish in your inlets. You put too much and your parts won't fit, and it'll turn into a mess.
Finishing up my third Kibler kit, frustration-free, pure joy to build. Thank you for everything you and your team does. Greatly appreciate all you do.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's one thing that we really want to do, is make a enjoyable, frustration-free process. It's not to say that we succeed with that 100% of the time, but we keep trying to do it better. So I'm glad that worked out really well for you. And you know, we want to keep getting better to make the experience better, because when people have a good time, they want to do it again, and they want to tell their friends, and that makes this whole thing grow. So that's part of our goal.
So can we get an up close of the Hawken behind you, the second one up? So I can take the camera. We can't touch it, but I can.
Yeah, we heard that with YouTube, for whatever reason, on lives you can't handle guns, and I don't know why, but maybe you can see that. So that's a beautiful, beautiful piece of wood. really amazing. This was finished by one of our employees, and I traded him a little small boat for it. He wanted the boat, and I liked the gun that he did.
Yeah, the wood is very, very pretty on that one. I love it. It glows.
It does. It's an amazing piece of wood. The wood came from up near Cadillac, Michigan. Not super hardwood, a little softer than you might expect, but hard enough to do the job. But the figure was just pretty incredible in it.
What are you sipping on there? You already, yeah. Pistol have brass hardware?
So I've been leaning towards iron hardware, and that's a little bit of a, not saying you couldn't find a pistol with iron hardware from that period. Brass would probably be more common, but I kind of like the idea of the iron hardware and the overall color scheme and look that it provided. And there were large numbers of English pistols with iron hardware, which heavily influences pistol design. So right now I'm leaning towards iron.
Water and dish soap is all that's needed to clean.
Yep.
The bore and lock.
Yep.
Can your kits be purchased at the shop and picked up?
So we occasionally have quick ships available. So check out the website. Quick ships are guns that maybe might have an imperfection or blemish or defect, but are still very good guns.
Or they're just
overrun. Yeah, sometimes we have overstock that we don't have current orders that would fill. So in those cases, you know, you could, you know, just get the whole deal if you would come to the shop. But please let us know ahead of time. We don't have a storefront.
It's chaos a little
You know,
bit
this is
at
a
times.
manufacturing
Yeah.
facility, and it's not a retail facility. So just keep that in mind.
Being from Ohio, are there any plans on an Ohio type rifle down the road?
I don't really have any plans because none of them have really been something that really interests me.
On average, how many rifles do you ship per month or year?
Yeah, I'd love to tell you guys, but I probably shouldn't. You know, it just doesn't seem like a great thing to tell everybody over the internet. But we sell a lot of guns. You know, we're probably bigger than most people would guess.
I haven't gotten one yet, but it's on my bucket list.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate your striving for perfection on the pistol. I'm going to be purchasing it.
Oh, thanks.
It'll be worth it. It'll be worth the wait. Is a relief carved Colonial in the future? What about a Germanic style lock?
Yes, to both. So a relief carved Colonial, you know, that particular gun sets itself up to be carved very well. So we're probably going to do some kind of a relaunch of the Colonial and have carving available on it. Maybe change a few things up on it. I'm looking forward to that. It'll again be a kind of a difficult project, but I think it'll be great, and it'll be it could turn out really beautiful, really beautiful. And the Germanic style lock, it's something I want to get going on. We have to get this pistol and Bess done first, but this Germanic style lock is something that I would really like to get going on it soon, because there's a number of guns in the future that really need a Germanic style lock. So I really want to get going on it. And plus, you know, I think that for the custom builders, the fellows that build from blanks, a high quality Germanic lock is something that would be great. You know, there's a number that are available today, but some of those have been available for 20, 30, 40 years, and some of the design work wasn't fantastic. And you know, I think that having something developed with the knowledge that we have today would be great for the custom gun world.
I've called several times asking about the possibility of a discount for a builder's class that I'll be offering. I never got a response. So I sit in the office with Bree, and she does get back with everybody. So maybe there was some sort of miscommunication with the number or something, but please go ahead and just send us an email too. That would be a good.
Or give us a call. Either way, you know, we're not saying we don't make mistakes occasionally, but you know, we want to help. So just give us another chance.
So yeah, there's several times there must have been some sort of miscommunication on that, because Bree's pretty good about that. So Any other plans on any other military guns after the Brown Bess?
I don't think, because a lot of what we do, or I do, is because they're really cool. And by cool, I mean they interest me, and they have an artistic component as well as a functional component. That's what makes these muzzleloaders fantastic for me. And a lot of military guns lack that artistic component. The Brown Bess still carries some of it through, which is why I can tolerate it. But you know, many other military guns, they don't have it. Sorry.
They mentioned the 18-3 Harper's Ferry rifle.
Yeah.
That's not your thing.
No.
I own a Woods Runner. Any chance of selling a pistol and rifle combo kit?
I don't know. We haven't thought about that. Yeah, you know, we'll definitely sell both to you, you know.
You can put them together.
Yeah.
You mentioned a while back that you might offer an engraving option on locks and maybe trigger guards. Is that still an idea in the future somewhere?
Our round face lock needs to be engraved. There's a few out there that are on old original guns that weren't engraved, but it would look and be much more appropriate if it had some engraving. So that's on the list, something that I personally want to do, even though most people probably won't care about it.
Woods Runner and Fowler use the same lock.
That
correct?
is correct, yes.
It's our round-faced English lock.
Yes.
What calibers for pistol?
45, 50, 54.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know that now. You guys look great.
You must be talking about Catherine.
I've built an SMR and a Hawken. I would like to send you a piece of ash for a barn rifle. What is the best grain milling saw cut when I mill the lumber?
So I would just flat sawn is fine. So that not quarter sawn, although quarter sawn could be used, but something like ash, flat sawn would be the best.
Hello from Norway. Is the coming Brown Bess a long land, and what decade is it from? I hope 1730, 1740, when the made of Cadillac Brown Besses.
So the one that we're copying is a 1756 model, and it was made in 1759. So it's a little later than the 1730-40 period that you talk about, and I do like the earlier period as well. But it's just not quite as, its usage, guns of the earlier period weren't produced and used quite as extensively as the later period Besses. So with the reenactors and such, it makes more sense to use a slightly later model Bess.
And it's completely irrelevant, but I'm 30% Norwegian, so hello to Norway. Okay. Are you ever going to offer jug chokes in your smooth bore?
So we would like to offer chokes in our Fowler, and by that not a jug choke, but a proper choke, like a turkey choke that'll really constrict it. So by that I mean, you know, there will be a constriction at the end, not just a jug. So that's probably going to happen at some point, and it should make some really great shooting turkey guns.
Split out the grain is what I do for a stock.
So you could split out the grain, and you know it's going to run, you know where the grain is going if you split it, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Full stock Hawken and flintlock, no.
Yep.
Carlos Franco here, just wanted to say hi, and I love your kits and customer service. Both are the best.
Thanks.
Thank you. We're always working to do better too. You two really complement each other nicely.
Most of the time.
Except for when we don't. And then it's, yeah. If the grain runs out, it might split.
It's true.
What are your thoughts on coning the muzzle?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of thoughts on that. I know some people that are very knowledgeable believe that coning was done in the period, and some think that it never was done in the period. So it's a very debatable subject, and some think that it doesn't affect accuracy. Some people think that it does. So I really don't have strong opinions either way on coning the muzzle of a gun.
I don't hear you often say that you don't have a strong opinion.
Yeah, that's a rarity.
So Can you change out a 16 gauge to a 20 gauge barrel on the
Sure.
smooth bore without too much work on the stock?
You shouldn't have to do any work on the stock.
They're interchangeable.
It should fit right in.
How about a blunderbuss?
I'm not into blunderbusses. To me, they're more of a kind of like a freak show, and that's not my thing.
Would it be possible to order a pair of pistols made from the same blank to be sort of a match pair?
Yeah, we could do that.
Hope you will do a Lancaster or York style sometime. Love to try the brass patch door and fancy work.
Yeah, so definitely, you know, we want to be, our offerings want to be, we would like them to be representative of the original work. And certainly, you know, some kind of a golden age gun would be a great thing because there were loads of them made. They're complicated to make. So I don't know when, but probably we'll start with some earlier guns, you know, maybe like the Dickard or the Beck, but eventually maybe more of a golden age gun, we'll see.
Do you like French guns?
I do. I love French guns as long as they're before 17, let's say 20 or so, 1730. They got really weird after that, I think. So I don't like.
Like what weird?
Well, just the artistic styles of them from after that time period. So the 17th century French work is wonderful. The very bulbous forms and the design work is fantastic. The Louis XIV style, and then there was the Bourrain style that happened after that. You know, it started maybe, I don't know, about 1690, I believe, is when that style kind of came into being, where it was a flat-faced lock, more restrained decoration, very classy, very neat. And then after that, at some point, you started getting much more of the Rococo influence, where they kind of, I don't like them at all. And then after that, then you got more like the neoclassical look with the Botte guns and stuff, and those things are just terrible.
See, that's why you didn't have a strong opinion.
Terrible.
I enjoyed building my Colonial. Thankfully, YouTube did not give me much of a hard time when I uploaded it. I hope to buy another rifle soon.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, and thanks for filming it and uploading it. It's another. It's just sort of fun to see how many videos there are out there of customers putting together their projects. It's neat. Where the Woods Runner and Colonial are so similar, any plans to redesign the Colonial and offer a brass patch box?
Yes, we do have ideas about that, and a brass patch box needs to be done. I'm with you.
Opinions on mustard to age patina a draw-filed barrel in the white, thinking of something different from what I would normally do, like browning or rust blue.
So I've never used mustard, but I've heard of people using mustard. I guess the vinegar component is what causes the corrosion or oxidation.
Could you just skip to vinegar then?
You could, but I think the paste of the mustard allows it to stay on a little better, I think. You know, one option is to use a browning solution or iron nitrate and just let it rust. And let it rust for maybe a week or more until you get a nasty scale on the outside. Clean off the rust. You're left with some pitting. You can leave a little of the rust around your sights, things like that. It's a good way to do it too.
See, like I'm gathering information now that I'm going to be putting on the website. I never thought of that. Love my Colonial. Oh wait, hi Jim and Catherine. My SMR is what Gary Ludwig taught me how to do a poured pewter nose cap. It's awesome.
Yep, Gary Ludwig has taught a lot of classes and is you know, a big benefit to the black powder community. So if you're listening out there, Gary, thank you very much. You know, we're all lucky to have you, and it looks like he did you good with the nose cap as well.
Love my Colonial, hoping to get in the next couple weeks to the barn gun. I'm in no hurry to build, but with hunting season starting up, so it'll probably end up as an over the winter project.
Yep, should go together pretty fast, so probably won't take long for you to do. You probably have it pretty much taken care of in a weekend, a couple days.
Catherine, looks like you're getting sore. Perhaps it's time to wrap up.
We'll be here as long as people want to ask questions. I'm
always sore. I'm way better with the surgery, way better, but I still have some moments, but I'm going to have them whether or not I'm on here, so I might as well be talking to you guys. Need some Kibler stickers for my water bottle and truck window.
I'll do that.
Yep. I was saving for one, but we got a big medical bill. Sadly, it will have to wait.
Yeah, sorry about that. You know, we wish you know, I hear people that maybe are in tough times or maybe not making a lot of money or whatever, and it's just a little more for them to afford. And if there was a world without money, we'd just love to give guns to those people. But that's just unfortunately not how the world can work. But you know, maybe someday. And we do have quick chips, which are a great option where there's defects but still make a great gun for that are a little more affordable. So so thank you, and hopefully we can help you out.
Hopefully things work out for you too. With
yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah. Which kit would you recommend for a French and Indian period?
So our Colonial rifle could fit in that time period. Our Fowler could as well. So either of those would be good choices.
1816 Flint Springfield rifle possible, has quite a history.
Yeah, again, military guns are not my thing so much, so sorry about that.
What barrel manufacturer does your 50 cal barrel for the barn rifle, and what is the twist?
So right now it'd probably be Colonial barrels, I believe, and they do, I think in 50 caliber, I'm pretty sure they do one in 56.
What kind of finish is on the Hawken? I think it's in the, oh wait, one.
So there's two. There's a dark one and then there's this one. So this one here that has all the figure that Catherine zoomed in on, it was tannic acid followed by iron nitrate.
For the barrel. Oh wait, no, you're right. You're right.
Okay,
my bad.
so the wood was tannic acid followed by iron nitrate. And then after that, I think it just has our Kibler's long rifles finish on it. So it had a tannic acid treatment. Probably had some dye stain added to warm it up. I'm sure it did. This other gun, it's much darker, more patina on it. It had iron nitrate, but it's had bone black and some different things, different things added to give it that patina.
Yes, it did a thing. I'll figure out where we'll just pick up right here and then go the other way. Is the Jack's Black for the barrel, is it period correct? Also, is it necessary to file the machine marks out?
So they wouldn't have had Jack's Black and they wouldn't have used anything like it. What it does is it just starts to simulate some oxidation, some patina that would be present on a gun that otherwise would have been finished bright, just polished bright with no finish on it. So after a few years, I don't know how many years, depending on how much a gun is used, it'll have more of if it were finished bright, it would have more of a grayish look to it. Think of a tool that has developed a bit of corrosion, and you clean the corrosion off, and eventually it has kind of a grayish look. That's what Jack's Black represents. As far as the machine marks on the barrels, some people don't remove them. I do recommend removing them by draw filing. We have a video that shows draw filing. It's not too hard once you kind of get used to the technique. So, you know, I'd suggest draw filing for optimum results, but you don't have to. So if it's something that you just really don't want to do, you don't have to.
Don't have a question, but want to say thank you. Thank you guys.
Yep.
Yeah. Nothing constructive to add, but have my eye on a Fowler.
Yeah, the Fowler's a really nice gun. You know, it's very nice. I'd recommend them.
Okay. And what, in your opinion, would be a New York State rifle for the 18? Sorry, my thing. Let me try to make that go away. For the 1812 era, is Colonial or barn gun or question?
You know, New York had kind of a distinctive style. So really, none of our offerings really fit great for the New York State.
I'm trying to, there.
Okay.
I'm trying to make it so I can actually read the chat better. There we go. I like that I've done my Hawken thing. Yeah. The price of a new Pedersoli now for most of their flintlocks is more than the cost of a Kibler, and not as nice, I would say. Thank you.
I'd say that too.
Yeah. Any other American Rev military flintlocks possible? No. Any estimate for base price for the pistol kit?
I don't know. We'll have to go through it in detail to come up with the price, but unfortunately it's going to be higher than you would think. You know, when you look at a pistol, it's so much smaller, but unfortunately it can't be a quarter of the price, you know, because there's a lot of similar components, the lock and the similar processes that occur. And that's always been the problem with a pistol, even for custom gun builders, is that they take a lot of time. So it'll be cheaper than our rifle offerings, but the exact price I'm not quite sure.
Definitely the breech lock is great. I would love to see a fusil de chase offered.
Yeah, I would like that too. Those French guns are something that are pretty cool.
I got bragging rights with a winning target on Mountain Man Dave's YouTube channel with your Woods Runner 50 cal and walnut. And yes, walnut is what makes it shoot very well. I like to think so anyhow.
Yeah, nothing wrong with walnut. They look nice.
Yep, nice work on that.
So the Bess will say tower.
Bess will say tower.
And it is, I guess it's technically considered a first model, even though it has an iron rammer. But I think the more modern way of looking at it is that it's a 1756 pattern.
What about a Northwest trade gun?
People ask about that a lot. And again, they're so simple. Let's get these dogs outside. Come on. They're so simple, and the big trigger guard and stuff. I haven't warmed up to them, but I could. You never know.
Does it bother you when people change or modify rifles you have designed? Different ramrod pipes, locks, side plates, other inlays?
So a little bit. And it just depends, you know, because sometimes people do really neat stuff, but then, you know, I'm a traditionalist, and I come from a background of just obsessing over every detail and making custom guns. So these are almost, even though we do them in a production fashion, they're almost like, you know, a custom gun that I'm putting out to people.
Yeah.
And so seeing some kind of modifications are tough, especially if they're maybe not historically correct or they're a little bit odd, you know. It's kind of tough sometimes, but at the same time, come on, Daisy. Our dogs are acting stupid here. But at the same time, I understand, you know, it's your gun and your project, and, you know, you've worked hard to buy it, so we completely understand.
Yeah, I kind of see it as we make really nice canvases in a way, is how people, but he doesn't see it that way. But it's
so it's okay.
It's okay, yeah. I fly with my guns. My favorite is my Colonial, but it's 6 feet too long to fly. What are your thoughts about cutting one down?
You could.
The barrel would end up being tapered rather than flared.
Yeah, you could. As far as like it fitting into some historical category, it'd be a little odd. Maybe consider a Hawken. They're a little shorter.
Is the Jack's Black period correct? Wait,
so,
I already did that.
Yeah, we
one.
already talked about that.
Okay. I have a Kibler Colonial in 50 in maple stock, and I love it. I want another one, but waiting for Jim's announcement about having engravings on the stock.
It's going to be a little while for the carving on the Colonial. We have to get this pistol done first, and then the Brown Bess, and it could come after that. But it's going to be a little while because we've got these two offerings that are going to be coming first.
If I don't dovetail in the underlug for a sling swivel and just, I already asked that one, sorry.
Well, that's okay. No, you didn't.
Oh, and just solder it on, is that okay for the barn gun or woods runner? Unfortunately, I don't feel skilled enough to dovetail.
So I think you can get away with just soldering it on. Make sure you have a nice wide big base. So if you have more solder area, it'll hold better. So if you have a wide base to solder onto the barrel, I think that it would probably be okay. You know, and the good soldering procedures make a difference. If you're soldering on an underlug with just normal soft solder, which I would recommend, like lead tin solder, make sure you tin the barrel and tin the underlug first. So that's getting a very thin coating of solder on both parts, flux them, then put them together, then heat them, and then you'll get a good joint that way.
Could you maybe turn off ads next time you do a live? I didn't realize they were on.
We apologize for that.
Because we don't try to make any money at all on YouTube, so I apologize for that.
Thanks for letting us know.
Yeah, I'll fix that next time. There's always something that I'm doing wrong with it. Okay, 10
Takes a
gauge
really good
or 12.
chisel.
That's that's a follow-up on something that is change the barrel.
No, it takes really good chisel to work on it. So,
To work on what?
so yeah, he's talking
Okay.
about chisels, and make sure you have sharp chisels. Very
Yeah.
important. And chisels ought to be sharp enough to kind of catch on your fingernail or shave even hair off your arm. So very important.
10 gauge or 12 gauge trade gun or Fowler would be great for hunting wild turkey, please and thanks.
Yeah, maybe our, I talked about doing a late 17th century gun, early 18th century gun. That's something that could be done in a little larger bore, and it'd be real appropriate and be really neat.
Think we need a Blackbeard pistol kit soon.
I like English pistols, so that wouldn't be hard to convince me to do that.
Yeah, and that one's about 18th century English pistols as well. 1730s dragoon design. Iron on pistol, please.
Yeah.
Depends on the wood, whether brass or iron, which is more where it was made back when.
Yeah. So around in the 18th century, brass was used almost exclusively in this country. In other parts of the world, they used iron a little bit more, sometimes silver, but most often brass in this country.
Hello from Lancaster, PA. New to this, I'd love to get one of your rifles one day. Which would be the closest to the rifles made in my neck of the woods?
I'd recommend our Colonial rifle. And even though most people think of a round-faced lock as being more of a southern thing, there were certainly round-faced locks used in the Pennsylvania area. If you think of Christian Springs guns, there's a number of them that have round-faced locks. Valentine Fondersmith comes to mind as well. There's a few others too.
Like a fake name.
A few others original guns too with the round-faced locks. So our Colonial would fit into Pennsylvania just fine.
Would you consider doing a percussion revolver?
I don't know anything about that, so probably not.
We've answered that. Are you looking forward to the Kibler Fest? I think it's a great thing.
Yeah, we are. We're thanking everybody that
Yeah.
that has been planning it. We're not always the most social people, but we definitely want to take part in it because it's a big honor that you guys are doing that, and we thank you so much. So
Yeah.
we'll see everybody there.
Yep. The new Burn NC Patriot Bears will be installed tomorrow. Oh, okay. The bears that are holding guns in North Carolina. I will take some pics as the male bear will be holding a Kibler stock. We'll have 4 Kiblers in our group so far.
How about
I've
that?
seen pictures of that.
Okay.
That's pretty neat. I'd buy the shotgun.
So we offer a shotgun. A Fowler is basically a shotgun, so we can help you out with that right now.
Pineapple and pizza, yes, I do. Pineapple and pepperoni, that's my go-to. And Scott coming Friday. Unfortunately, I can't make it on such notice. Otherwise, I'd drive down for that. Maybe the Kibler Fest?
Might be. Probably is.
40 caliber coyote rifle.
A 40 caliber would kill a coyote fine.
Can you show the barn gun percussion lock? Do we have some that?
I can probably grab one.
Are we allowed to show that?
I expect.
Okay. And then I'll get pictures to add to the website once I've forgotten to do that. So okay. The mic muted was start of live. Oh, I don't think it was muted. We just weren't talking. I had to figure out how to do the chat. I couldn't find that. There's a lot of stuff to figure out with these things, and I forget by the time I do it one time, I've forgotten by the next time. I'll see if there's any other of these that I can answer while he's out finding something.
Okay, I'm back. So I don't know if you can kind of see this.
There's the camera up there. Yep.
So kind of what you'd expect, based on our earlier Flint Ketlin style lock, it could be thought of as a percussion conversion.
So it's the same inlet, right?
Same plate, yep.
Okay. Okay, cool. Smooth bore pistol.
So we could do some in smooth bore too if there was enough demand.
Okay. When finished, do we call them handmade, custom, or even high-end guns?
For me, I don't worry about words because I don't know, it's just difficult. It's just semantics. I usually don't pay attention to words. In truth, what they are is they're very high quality guns that compare in every way to most custom-made guns. I mean, that's the quality level that we produce. We manufacture them, you guys finish them, sometimes customize them, but that's just what they are. And what words apply, I don't know. I know certain things offend certain people, you know, when you call it one of our kits something, a build versus a assembly, and it's just nonsense. So I don't know what more to say about it.
Are you Jewish?
No. No.
I have a Colonial and a Woods Runner, looking at a 45 caliber barn gun or mountain rifle.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for making the lefty barn gun. Your videos gave me confidence to assemble the gun and prep the barrel and stock for a nice finish.
Great. What's this?
Oh, I'm just going to ignore some
Yeah.
of these. Okay. I'm ignoring that fella.
We have some weirdos participating here, it seems.
Yeah. When is the Kibler shoot?
The Kibler Fest is, I'm not sure the dates.
October 8th, 9th, and 10th, I think. I'm pretty sure. Somewhere that weekend. I'm really bad with dates. Any more left-handed guns? Probably not.
Yep.
What are the chances for a target muzzle loader, i.e. Gibbs?
Yeah, I do like some of the later English target muzzle loaders, but again, they're very complicated, very detailed guns to make to a high level. So I don't think the demand would be there to justify all that effort in trying to make it happen.
Okay. Is there any of your rifles that would be better or more appropriate in 50, 54, or 58 caliber, like a Hawken in 58 being more appropriate than a Colonial in 58 or other calibers?
Yeah, so actually Colonial in 58 works quite well. It lightens the gun a little bit, works well. The Hawken works okay in 58 caliber. It'll kick you a little more though. So 54 is probably the sweet spot with the Hawken. 54 works very well in the Woods Runner. I like 50 in the barn gun because it's a very light gun.
We're going to block that fella. Nice that you, Catherine, is 100% Norwegian. I'm 30%, not 100%. But you and Jim are living my dream to one day make copies of older guns. One I will like to make is the M/1704 Swedish musket in caliber 79. Sincerely, Idar.
Well, I hope that your dream comes true. Get after it and make it happen.
Yep. My 54 caliber Woods Runner looks and handles extremely well. That smoothbore barrel is quite tight. What caliber round ball would you recommend? My 530 ball is tight even with a 10 linen patch.
That's interesting. You know, you can try to go a little smaller with the ball. I'm not sure the availability of smaller balls, but that's what I would try.
Okay, we have our first troll. I would like to use this opportunity to thank you guys for replacing a damaged stock that had gotten mangled by a wayward nail in the shipping box.
Yeah. So one thing for sure, if you guys have any problems, if you have something that doesn't seem right or we've made a mistake, don't hesitate to contact us. I know I may seem kind of aggravated at different points and stuff, but we want, more than anything, we want everybody to have a good experience. And if we've made a mistake, we'll fix it. So please let us know.
I feel like it's a canvas that can be finished as is or artistic.
Yeah.
Yep. So if I drilled and tapped a Colonial for a scope, would Jim have a heart attack?
I might.
But it's okay.
Yeah. I've got life insurance.
How often are quick ship guns added to the list? Ordered a Woods Runner, but still trying to snag one sooner.
They're added just
regularly.
Periodically, yeah, just as they come up. I think there was a Woods Runner on there today I saw, so check it out. Might still be there.
I'd pay up to $2,000 for a double flinter in kit form.
Yeah.
It'd be more than that.
It would, unfortunately.
Yeah. don't forget a light mounted also. Will you be offering a bayonet to go with the new Brown Bess?
We will,
Yes.
and I don't know how I'm going to make it yet, but we will.
What was the most common caliber for the Colonial rifle for the time period?
I'd say anywhere between 50 and 54.
Love my Colonial and Woods Runner makes it hard to go hunting with one and leaving the other. Do you have a launch date on the Bess or price? No.
No, it'll be after the new year. And the price, I'm not quite sure. A rough estimate might be similar to the Hawken pricing that we have, but I don't hold me to that, of course.
I'm going to ignore that one. I'm doing a Power in cherry with potassium.
Fowler.
Oh, it's supposed to be a Fowler. With potassium dichromate in bone black. Okay to use to darken.
Yeah, I would think so. I've not used potassium dichromate, but I've heard that it works very well on cherry, although it's very toxic as well, so be careful. We actually bought a little bit but never used it because it was so
I got
so
scared.
toxic. But bone black will work fine to darken areas with it, yep.
Will you ever offer the Woods Runner with CNC relief carving with a bare non-carved stock? I saw Jim show an example in a video. There was carving everywhere but the back of the stock.
I'm not sure. So we offer, if you check out our website, we offer relief carving on our Woods Runner, and it has carving behind the tang, at the comb, and behind the cheek piece. So that's our relief carved Woods Runner. You may be thinking about the incise carved Woods Runner, which has more extensive carving. So check out our website and you can kind of see what the relief carving looks like.
Okay. The caliber of the Brown Bess?
Probably 7.75.
Okay. And that's the size of the one that we're modeling?
So yeah, they varied between 75 and 80 caliber on the originals, and the one that we're modeling, I believe it's about 7.75.
Any chance of a percussion SMR?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that today, and probably what we'll do is we'll start a list, and if there's enough people that want it, then when we get to a certain number, we'll probably make that an option. So at some point, we'll be coming out with information on that to sign up on some kind of a list.
Oh, yeah.
And when it gets to a certain number, we'll do it.
If I came there, could I shoulder the Colonial and the Woods Runner to see what works better for me?
So sometimes we have finished guns here, sometimes we don't. But you'd be welcome to come with if you have an appointment, and we'll help you decide what works best for you.
Since you're doing a Brown Bess, will you do an equivalent at Charleville?
Probably not.
Probably not. Will my dream come true? Percussion SMR, you just said that. Do you have an overall gun length listed on your website? I can't find those figures. Trying to decide between a Woods Runner or a Colonial. If I'm missing those, I definitely need to fix that.
So the barrel length on the Woods Runner is 39 3/4 and 44 on the Colonial. So the Woods Runner is going to be about 4 inches shorter. Woods Runner about 4 inches shorter than the Colonial. So if you see,
Colonial's 59 inches.
I don't know, but if you see any of the lengths of either, just know that the Woods Runner is about 4 inches shorter. And I think that they're on our website, but if they're not, Catherine's going to check that out, I'm sure. Or send us a message, and
then I'll make sure I
get
it on.
Or like we mentioned, we have on our website, we have an area for questions, that a knowledge base. So ask our knowledge base that question and see if it gives the overall length. It probably will.
And if it doesn't, there's a place to submit a question that'll come to me, and we'll get it added.
But it'll probably give you the answer.
Yeah. Most popular caliber for a barn gun?
I think probably 50. 50 has been very popular.
Any possibility of making a slender long rifle with a decorative patch box?
I think so. I think that would be very neat. A golden, what we refer to as a golden age gun, or a federal period gun, probably Pennsylvania or Virginia styling.
Can guns with hook breeches swap out various caliber barrels?
Yeah, so our Hawken has a hook breech, and you can certainly get different calibers for it, and they should swap out fine. All of our barrels are interchangeable though, with very little to no work.
Any possibility of bringing back the 46-inch barrel?
I don't think. Unfortunately, I like long barrels, but a lot of our people are, not that used. A lot of our customers are not that used to long-barreled guns. They come from a modern gun world, and really long barrels kind of scare people. So we'll probably not do the 46-inch barrel.
What wood was used on original Brown Bess?
English walnut. So English walnut is a beautiful stock wood. It's fantastic. It's probably the best stock wood there is, but it's hard to come by and very expensive. So we'll be using black walnut, which is an alternative that could be used if it's stained well. It can look very much like English walnut. Our black walnut is usually very nice. It comes from upstate New York and actually around the Finger Lakes of New York. And it's been very nice walnut, very dense. So yeah, it'll work.
Are we going to offer it in other stuff too, or just it's only? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. A Brown Bess and maple would look.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. Do you have any tips for reliable ignition on flintlocks? I have an old CVA Kentucky rifle. I'm currently saving for a barn gun or SMR that's giving me trouble.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with CVA flintlocks, but those are production guns that are imported that are kind of entry level, is one way to put it, and they had a lot of problems. So trying to make one work well can be difficult. So you might want to get on some of the forums, muzzleloading forum. That might be a good place to get some tips and advice.
A matchlock would be easy, dangerous, but fun. How about a saw handle pistol?
Some English guns are great. Even saw handle pistols are a little different, but great. Yeah. Building
woods runners for our sons. I've been able to personalize each one for each son. Between engraving the wood inlays and Dan Krause's engraving on the metal, they are each unique gifts.
Oh, thank you so much. And Dan does a great job of engraving. And that's one thing that our guns do offer is it's something that can be passed down. It's an heirloom, that you've put a lot of work into, and a high quality item that can go down to your children and grandchildren, and also expose them to the neat things of muzzleloading rifles and hunting and such.
The period for the pistol?
Probably around, I'd say 1790, 1800, maybe 1810.
Is there a trick to getting the underlugs in? I've been having trouble.
So there's a lead. By a lead, I mean one side of the underlug will start in the barrel, and then every one that I've put in, we've kind of designed them where they'll just tap in. I use a mallet with the nylon tip, and I'll just drive them in just as they're supplied. Make sure there's no burrs on them. Occasionally there's burrs on the underlugs, but they should go right in the underlugs. So maybe you're just a little afraid to tap them in, but usually they'll go right in.
Would you consider putting the original caliber of the guns that inspire the kits on the website? It would be interesting to know which caliber is period correct.
Yeah, that would be kind of neat.
Yeah, that'd be a good addition. Come on, bring back the 46-inch barrel on the SMR. 30% Norwegian,
yeah.
Yes. 39 3/4 Woods Runner barrel.
Yep.
Any possibility of a
snap-ons?
Thank you.
So no, probably not.
Okay. What were the typical barrel lengths for long rifles in the 18th century?
Yeah, in the 18th century, they're probably, I'd say, a 38-inch barrel would definitely be short, very short. They could go up to 48 inches, so more than 40 would be typical. Probably more, I'd say an average would probably be more in the 42, 44-inch range, be my guess.
Have you heard of Chadwick, the gun maker?
I haven't.
Adding a silencer, too much for the Colonial? I'll go on the list for the percussion SMR.
Good, we'll try to get that going.
Yeah, I'll get that so people can add themselves and get their information right. Will you be offering shorter bags and loading rods?
Well, We do offer a loading rod. Oh, I think you might be
Range
thinking
rod.
of a range rod, maybe a little shorter for the Hawken perhaps.
Probably.
And
Mhm.
you know, we've talked about that, but we haven't done it. So we may at some point. We talked to
Yeah.
Ray about that.
What Kibler flint do you recommend for a hunting gun for deer, and do you recommend it rifled or smooth?
Rifling is always good, a little more accurate, but nothing wrong with a smooth bore. And you have a number of choices. You can use a Woods Runner, you can use a Colonial, you could even use our barn gun, and 50 caliber would be a great choice. Probably the most popular that we offer is our Woods Runner, probably the most popular.
How would you recommend finishing walnut for the best when it becomes available?
Yeah, so I'd probably try, depends on the piece of wood. Oftentimes black walnut has a little bit of a purplish color, less of a, I don't know, less of a red color. So one thing you can do is you can put a coat of aniline dye on it. That takes away any kind of purplish hues and lets it look a little bit more like English walnut. So I'd probably dye it yellow. We do sell trans tint dye in yellow. Mix it with water and put it on the stock. And then after that, you put oil on, finishing oil. Our Kibler's Long Rifles oil works very well. And then you can also tint the oil with some kind of red colorant or reddish colored dye. And then that would probably get you pretty close.
I think you answered this, but a Schuler or Beck with a nice brass patch box and some inlays.
Yeah, I think that would be nice. Yep.
Surprised no one has asked for a Kibler bazooka yet. Could you put the caliber on the barrel flat?
So we do on the bottom of the barrel, but not on the exposed area. And we try to keep the exposed area clean and looking historically correct. So we probably would just keep it on the bottom.
3-inch Kibler shoulder mounted.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's something I don't. Okay. Do you have any idea on what you may be producing the long barrel Pennsylvania rifle caliber size?
I don't know. Like we talked about, we'd like to do a Dickard or a Beck, and those guns would probably be 50 caliber. Would be pretty typical.
And that looks to be, that is, oh, we got 48-inch barrel, of course, high from a beginner.
Thank you.
What style of lock will be on the pistol?
So our English export style lock, or what we call our Catlin lock, is going to be on the pistol.
With chokes, what about threading the muzzle for a screw-in choke so we have the option for different chokes on the fly? I know it's not historically accurate, but I think it would be neat.
Yeah, I've heard of people doing that. I don't know, to be honest.
Explain the offset you build into the barn gun to keep it from dropping into the SMR.
Oh, yeah, so maybe I don't understand the question. I thought I did.
Explain the offset you build into the barn gun to keep it from dropping into the SMR. They're just different guns.
I'm not quite sure what. He's probably talking about the lock. So a percussion lock will fit in the SMR, but it would have to have a drum installed in the barrel in the correct location. That's probably what he's talking about.
Okay. What do you see in your company's future? Are you growing enough that you think you'll need to expand, or happy at the current size? Seems like you reinvigorated the long rifle for those who can't.
So thank you. Predicting the future for me is always very difficult. So I kind of try not to predict the future. A lot of business people talk about seeing where or envisioning where you want to be in 5 or 10 years, and we might do that a little bit occasionally, or I might do that, but I focus a little bit more on just each year trying to maintain some growth, because if you're not growing, you're kind of stagnant, and there's not, after being stagnant, it's not far to slipping, and we don't want to slip. So personally, it feels good to try to keep growing.
And there's just more projects you're interested in doing, too.
Yeah, and so it's just like, I don't know how to explain it, but it just, staying stagnant doesn't feel good to us. It's just not the kind of people we are, and not me or Catherine. And so I think that probably we'll keep growing, I think that's probably our trajectory.
Would it be remotely historically accurate to leave my barn gun in the white? I can't find much online.
It could be. It'd probably look. So I assume in the white you mean
Not
the
finishing
metal
the wood.
parts,
Oh.
but I would do something with the wood. I would at least do something with the wood.
Any chance of offering knives in the future?
I don't know much about knives, but I think some of them are awful cool, but I don't know much about them.
Yeah, we just really don't know. Any chance of a British Sea Service pistol someday?
Probably not.
Any other left-hand offerings coming down the pipe?
No, we don't have any. No.
What size flint will the Brown Bess lock use?
A big one, and I'm not quite sure, but I don't know what size are typically used for the Brown Bess lock, but they're big, massive guns, so it's going to be a good sized flint. If the flint's too small, it'll just smash it and crush it.
Please don't ever sell your company. I'm looking to buy whatever I can while you're interested. Production flintlocks just don't compare.
Well, thank you. We have no plans to sell our company. We've kind of talked about that in the past, and we've concluded what will we do.
How did you get into CNC? Are you self-taught?
Pretty much self-taught, yeah. So I'm an engineer. I went to school for metallurgical engineering, but didn't learn anything specific to CNC, but I did work at different factories that used a lot of CNC equipment, and I didn't have any direct work with those machines, but then basically was just self-taught. One thing fantastic is the availability of information on YouTube. Information is not a problem today. You can find out how to do anything. So yeah, it's not a problem at all. You can learn, and it's we've come along in a really fantastic time period. I know there's difficulties with every time period, but there's also benefits. And for starting a business, this is an amazing time.
We both are very independent, like to teach ourselves things. Part of that could be that we're not really great at listening to others at times. So being self-taught, like today's world is fantastic because we each can sort of dig into whatever we're interested in, and it helps us with the business. So yeah. What about a British wall gun?
Again, it's something pretty specialized and unique, so probably not. We have to, I've talked about this before, but we have to, projects take so much time, effort, and money to develop. We have to make sure that we're going to sell enough of them to, to profit from that process.
What's your favorite offering so far or future offering?
I think what I like the most right now, our Fowler's very nice, but I think probably our Woods Runner with the relief carving,
Me too.
I think is our nicest offering. Some appreciate it. I think it's underappreciated because people don't understand decoration in general on guns, since it's something that's kind of foreign, especially carving on modern guns, but it was ubiquitous on 18th century guns. It looks right. It adds a lot of interest. I think they're very nice.
For the barn gun finishing, it was the metal parts specifically.
Yeah, nothing wrong. You could leave them in the white and just let whatever happens to them.
Yeah. You guys need to eat.
We will.
We don't have anyone to make us dinner, so we're gonna go
We'll
eat
find
some cereal
something.
or open up. Yesterday, I opened up some expired manwich, and 2 years expired, and it was still
So
good.
we're not always the best at
Self-care.
well, that and all the ordinary things in life, like regular meals and things like that.
Are you using AI in your production? No.
But we have some ideas, of how it can help. It could help, with, helping develop. We've thought about ERP systems or business management systems, but they're always very complex and have so many more features than we really need. And it'd be nice to be able to tailor one completely to our specific needs. And believe it or not, I think with AI, even though neither of us are coders or anything like that, we could develop the software to do it today.
Yeah. So we use what's called agentic AI, not the what do they call it? The creative AI, where you I took that as in your production, like in making video. We don't use it in an art way.
Yeah.
We use it as a helper, kind of the tool way.
Yep. Now, I've actually thought about someday I would like to try to learn more about this creative AI and how it could apply to long rifle design. It might seem crazy, and most people might think that it's just wacky and nonsense, but I believe it can work very well if you train it enough and feed in enough historical examples that it could come up with some amazing stuff. And what's neat about that is once you get a start, then you can take it and you can do some really, really neat creative stuff with it.
Iterate a lot.
You can, and it still can then have a historical basis. So its application there could be fantastic.
I thought they have humans running the machines. We do.
We do.
We do.
Yeah.
I love everything y'all do. One day I want one of everything you offer, even if it isn't my cup of tea. Please don't ever sell. I'll volunteer for free labor if ever needed.
No, thank you.
If you do not end up making any more left-handed long rifle, could you make additional finishing pieces for the barn gun so us lefties can make it into a SMR?
You never know. You never know.
Do we email Bree to get on the percussion SMR list?
So yeah, well, somehow, I don't know.
Info at Kibler's is the place, because that everything kind of funnels in there.
Yeah, and then in the past, haven't we made lists available where you can get them off of our website?
Yeah,
so we'll probably end up doing that.
Set that. I got to find that again.
Yeah.
How are the shipping options? I prefer UPS since USPS is not reliable in my small town.
So shipping has been a little bit of an issue. There's, without going into details, that there's different software and different companies that help us with our shipping, ShipStation, Stamps.com, and they all have different rules about guns, and it's just becoming nonsense and a hassle. So we're just shipping any way we can right now.
Right. So we're shipping both through the post office and UPS. Some of them struggle with updating tracking is the big part, but we make sure we take care of everybody if something doesn't get to them, and we help move it along. Would you ever consider having a half stock SMR with already installed underrib?
We haven't really thought too much about that, but I've seen a number of neat ones that customers have done, so it's something to think about. Maybe a wood underrib that uses the underlugs. You can just pin it to the underlugs, pin it to the bottom of the barrel, so it could be a neat project. Sometimes we have guns that the forestock breaks or something during manufacturing, so we have stocks that would be available for a half stock gun. Yeah, so if anybody's interested in trying to make one, reach out and we could probably get you a stock.
Any videos coming up on browning?
I've never been somebody that does much browning, but we may. So along those lines, we're going to be doing more videos before too awful long. We've actually built a dedicated small studio to do videos, primarily gun building videos. So you're going to be seeing that in the future, where we really want to do that, get all the cameras, all the lights, everything set up for a nice production.
Sound better, because it's so noisy out in the shop, it's hard to hear.
So you're going to, probably we should have something maybe within the next month or so.
What got you into muzzle loaders and the history around them?
So I grew up in a family that was interested in history, and I always liked to make things and build things. So that's kind of the combination. I lived in old houses that were built in the early 1800s, and my family collected antiques, and I liked to hunt and things like that as a kid and fish, and I put a kit gun together that happened to be one that was at my grandparents' house, and I just kind of got interested. And it's a neat thing for me, because it's something that's very useful. Hunting was very cool at the time to me, but also it had so much history around it as well, and beauty and artistic details and creativeness. So it's all those things came together that got me interested in these muzzleloaders.
Bree is such an asset. Give her a raise before you lose her.
Yeah, we're not going to lose Bree. We'll take care of her.
But also, if anybody's ever grumpy, please don't take it out on Bree, because she's the sweetest thing that you've ever met. And anyway, My concern with creative AI is most have the same policies as YouTube. So if you can get that to work, it'd be quite impressive.
Okay.
And it's changing all the time too. That guy could always just be not be wrong-handed. Oh, the left-handers. And thanks, guys, for being my mentors so late in my life. You're doing it right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you. Thank you. We did it.
Yeah, this was a long one. If any of you people have been here from the start, you deserve a medal of some kind.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you. It was good. We'll have to do it more often. Like I said, more videos are going to be coming, higher quality production, and maybe redoing a lot of our assembly videos on our various kits.
Once they're set up, we can.
So we want to do a lot more you know, YouTube stuff and videos. So.
It's why we don't always do good at feeding ourselves, is because this is the stuff that we're doing. Will you be selling okay. Would you be willing to sell a half stock blank? We use almost all of our blanks.
Yeah, we usually don't sell blanks, you know, because we need most of them ourselves.
Yeah.
But we could turn you on to some people that could help you out. So if you're looking for one, you can reach out and we could find one for you.
Any wire inlay options in the future, or a list of those that are willing to
The wire
farm
inlay
out
is really cool. I don't really know how the techniques of doing it are kind of unique, and how we could actually make that happen. You know, with our CNC equipment, it might be pretty difficult. So I don't really have any plans for that, but it's a neat thought though.
I'm going to keep going until they're going.
Okay.
Would it be possible to get the barn gun with a 54 caliber smoothbore?
I think it's a little bit big. I think it's a little big.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you all so much. We'll rewatch over and over. Thank you. 2 hours, yes.
Yes.
Please take care of yourselves, start to finish. Thank you, guys. I don't know how anyone sat through this for 2 hours, but thank you.
Thank you for all the support.
Yep.
You know.
Let's just keep doing what we do.
We do, yeah. And it's like, you know, you guys are very gracious and very thankful for us, but we're also thankful for you, and it's a win-win. And that's what makes businesses a success, when, you know, it's good for us and good for you. So that's
we're kind of compelled to do this.
Yeah,
and
so that works out well.
Okay.
We're going to quit now.
We're going to quit. We're going to say bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.